Hello everyone. Today we are going to understand about the topic risk. This topic is important from the perspective of those who are from the finance background. Okay, so if we talk about risk, what one understands about the risk? Okay, so as in the picture we can see that a man is trying to cross from one point to other, and he is using the rope for this. Now, if we can look in the picture, we can easily see that he is having a 50% chance that he might cross the point or he might fall down, right? So this is known as risk. Now, if we understand what is risk, so first is risk is defined as the degree of not earning the optimal profit. That means अगर आप देखते हैं that if you have done investment and you are having a 50% chance that you might earn profit or you might incur loss, that is known as risk, be it more than the expected profit or less. We can understand this with the help of example that if I am doing an investment of say 1 lakh rupees and my expected return is suppose 10%, right? So what if I earn the profit more than 10% or what if I earn the return of less than 10%? In both the cases, I am having the risk of not earning the 10% return, right? So, then higher the risk, higher the return. This is a very common proverb in the finance background. That is, if a person is going to take higher amount of risk, he is going to have a higher amount of return. He is having the probability of earning the higher amount of return. This means that the more variable the possible outcomes that can occur, the greater is the risk. The more the amount of risk he or she is willing to take, the greater is the chance that he might earn a good amount of profit or a good amount of loss. So, as I have explained the example, like Mr. A is planning to invest in two stock portfolio X and Y. He expects the earning of 10%. Now the risk in the portfolio is in the following cases, that what if the investor earns the profit of greater than 10% and the less than 10%. So being a finance background, you are easily, this term is very easy for you to understand. Two stock portfolio. Two stock portfolio means a portfolio that is a combination of the stocks. In that we are having a two stock, that the person has invested in two types of stocks X and Y. Then, if he sees the average of the return of his portfolio, he tries to earn earning of 10%. Now, the risk in this case is, what if the investor earns the profit of less than 10%? For say, it might be 8%, 9%, 6%, 7.5%. This is also the risk. And what if the investor earns the profit of 10%, greater than 10%? So he is not actually earning the 10% profit, be it greater than or the less than. In both the cases, he is at the riskable position, right? So, the best thing, the best variable through which risk can be measured is known as beta, right? So beta is the measuring factor which helps to understand about the volatility of the market. Okay, so what do you mean by volatility? Volatility means the changes or the variability. How dynamic is your market? How sensitive is your market? On what factors does your market gets वेरिएबल, इन सारे मेजर्स को measure करना, that how your stock is going to react with the dynamicity of the market, that can be measured with the help of beta. So it also helps to check the sensitivity of the market returns, what your market is going to earn. That can also be sensitized and that can also be measured with the help of the term beta. What exactly is beta? Numerically, we are going to figure it out in our later videos. Now, at this point of time, we are going to understand what is beta and what are the types of beta. So beta can be categorized into three types, that is beta greater than 1, beta less than 1 and beta equal to 1. The first point is, what if the beta is greater than 1? What does it signify? It shows that the investment which you have done has the risk of greater than 1. That means you have invested in an aggressive security. What is aggressive security? Aggressive security means that your stock in which you have invested is highly sensitized towards the market. If there is a slight change in the market, your stock price is sensitized. It does get variable. Okay, so next is, what is beta equal to 1? If the beta is equal to 1 for any security X, it is a moderate security. That means it is between the aggressive and the conservative securities, right? We are going to understand with the help of diagram also. Okay, now third is, what if the beta is less than 1? That is, it is a defensive security or the conservative security. So, beta greater than 1 indicates that the investor is a risk taker. He loves to take the risk. Beta less than 1 indicates that he is a risk averse. He hates to take the risk. He always try to invest in those securities which have zero or less risk, like in government securities. Okay. So now if we're talking about risk, now risk in financial terms can be defined as the deviation of outcome via planned return from the investment. Risk is always quantitative in nature. Whatever we are studying in the finance, it is always in quantitative terms. Qualitative is not there in finance. Okay, so anything which is deviated from your expected thing is known as risk. In our everyday life also, if we are moving from one place to another, we are carrying the risk on our heads, right? So if we see about risk in financial terms, it can be defined as a deviation of outcome via planned return from the investment. So the probability or the chance that the actual result and the expected result is different. There are two types of return, that is the expected return and the actual return. Expected is done before the investment, and the actual, that is the realized rate of return which you actually get after the investment is being done. Okay, so expected return is also known as ex ante return, and actual return is also known as ex post return, right? So if there is a difference between the actual and the expected result of your investment, it is known as risk. Now, practice of identifying potential risk in advance, analyzing them, and taking precautionary steps to reduce or curb the risk. Now, it is risk shows you, risk leads you to have a practice of identifying the risk in advance, and you try to treat the risk. There are various ways through which risk can be treated. Okay, like risk sharing, risk avoidance, risk transfer, risk retention, etc. Now, future uncertainty investment is also known as risk. Whatever investment you have done at present, and for suppose you have done a investment for 2 years, what actually will be the result after 2 years is totally unforeseen, is totally vague at present. This is also known as risk, or the degree of uncertainty and the potential financial loss inherent in an investment decision is also known as risk, right? Now, if we talk about the features of risk, there are many features of risk. Like, it is uncertain, as we have discussed earlier. It is volatile, that means there is highly dynamic environment, right? Now it is continuous, whatever you are doing at the time for which you have done the investment for that particular time, but you are carrying the risk in your stocks. It is pervasive, that is, it is universal, not only in investments, in your daily life also there exists risk. Okay, if you're going to do the test in your class, there are many chances that you get the deviation what you have expected and where you have what you have actually realized, right? That is also known as risk. Risk and return go hand in hand, as we have discussed earlier. Higher the risk, higher the return, and lower the risk is the lower the return. Then it can be or cannot be controlled. Risk can be controllable and it can be uncontrollable also. Okay, deviation from actual result, right? Whatever you have done and whatever you have planned, the difference between the two is known as risk. Can be, cannot be avoided. Some risks are there which can you can avoid, and some which you have to bear or you have to do the treatment for this. can bring good as well as bad result, right? Inseparable part of investment, whatever investment you are doing, risk is an inherent part of your investments. Bearing risk is a never ending process. Okay, that can be measured in terms of investments, like the return. Suppose 10% return, 15% return, you are getting an actual percentage of return whatever you are expecting from your investments. Can be and cannot be avoided. And last is can be short term and long term. Okay, if you're doing a short term investments, then that particular time period will be having your risk for the short term, and if you are doing a long term investment, it will be a long term risk. Okay, so I hope this topic is clear for. Thank you.